Hello, and today we're going to look at Chronicles of Crime, which is a weird sort of detective app-driven game. Now, I'm not normally a big fan of app-driven games, but the reason I quite like this one is they've actually released a community creation pack, so you can actually create your own stories. And then you've got these sort of generic clue tags. So you'll go around, you'll interview people, you'll scan with your phone the clues, the people, the locations, and build a story. So it's sort of a build your own adventure. Now, would this have been better as a pure computer game? Possibly. I think a lot of app-driven games would be better off just as a computer game, but it is nice to have a couple of games. So I've got Mansions of Madness and Chronicles of Crime, which are app-driven. I'm probably not going to want any more app-driven games, but anyway, enough of the preamble. Let's actually get inside. And as you can see, lots of YouTube type people have given this a big thumbs up. So when opening up the box, we've got the rule book, which is pretty Spartan, a little board to gather up all your clues on, and then, let's spin this box around, you have your helpers, and is this all, yeah, it's all wrapped up in one thing, and then your location, so location P, for example, and yeah, it's got this nice sort of cartoony thing. You've got some extra spaces for expansion. So, for example, the Noir expansion will be going in this box. That's quite nicely held down. This actually might be an insert that's worth keeping, although again, no room for sleeve cards. So if you want to sleeve your cards, this box is no good. But you're not really shuffling these cards, so it's not really a problem. Then these, I believe, are things like items, so like your food with a nice little pin effect. So when it's on your clue board, let's move this here. When you put stuff on your clue board, it sort of looks like it's pinned on, which is quite nice. And then a little QR code to scan with the app. And then obviously the bit that I quite like are the people. So you've got 1 to 55. Number 1, this lady here. So you've got 4 special helpers: the Forensic Lab, the Intelligence Bureau, the Morgue, and the Criminology Centre. You've then got your various locations. So you've got East End, Notting Hill, Camden, Soho, Westminster, Southwark, Bloomsbury, Paddington, Lambeth, Kensington, Leicester Square, the City, Scotland Yard, Mayfair, Greenwich, South Bank, and finally the Docklands. So lots of nice areas, and as you can see, you've got spaces for 3 people in each location. And that's something I'm struggling with the community app, actually. Trying to work out how to get everything to interact correctly is a little bit fiddly. Anyway, I think we'll have a look at the people next, and then a quick look at the clues. With there being so many people, I'm not sure I can go through all of them. So you've got number 1, 2, etc., all the way up to 16 here, then 31, 42, 45. So there's a good mix of ages and sexes and various skin tones, hair colours, etc. So I like this style of art. It's great, and I believe there are some promos out there that I wouldn't mind getting hold of. For example, I know the Dice Tower crew exist. I'm not sure how they interact with the game though, because I know, for example, in the community app, currently you can only do the base set, although they have promised us the Noir expansion will be added soonish, whatever that means. So anyway, so that's just a quick look at the suspects, witnesses, red herrings, etc. What's interesting here, this is space for some 3D glasses that you can actually attach to your phone to get a better 3D stereoscopic effect. But you don't actually need it. You can, it's totally optional, but I believe this adds some extra bits to the game. Not quite sure what that is. And there's space for a dice by the looks of it. And this, I believe, is the sort of kid-friendly expansion, Redwood, I want to call it. So I'm not sure when that's coming out. I believe Kickstarter backers have got it. And then obviously these are the item cards for those expansions. So core set, Noir, Redwood, 3D glasses down in the bottom here, and not sure about the other bits. So these are the sort of generic clues. Now we've got these special star ones with green pins which actually have pretty pictures on. And then we just got generic things. So in scenario 1, let's say this could be a burger. In scenario 2, sushi. Scenario 3, lobster thermidor. Scenario 5, a mouldy, I don't know, roll. So these are deliberately generic with just generic terms, which in some ways is unfortunate, but I can understand why they've done that. I do wish they had a bit more of these things, so like, you know, a bomb, an alarm, etc. And what I particularly like is with the community patch, you can actually use these together, obviously with your locations and your witnesses, to build quite complex, interesting stories. And I think that's why this game got my interest. I'm not really a big fan of apps, but with being able to create your own cases, you're not limited by the, I want to say 10 or so that are available for the game right now. I think you get 5 in the box, with the option to buy 5 more. I can't quite remember. It probably says on the back of the box. Yeah, there is also the Noir and the Redwood expansions. And just to remind you, down in the bottom, there's these extra options as well. So yeah, quite a lot of stuff. I'd like to see some more locations as well. That would be really good. And obviously the community patch getting a nice update would be wonderful. So I need to read the very sparse rulebook, which is hardly any pages at all, 7 pages. And then it's a question of firing up the app. Now, when it actually comes to showing you the game, it's going to be a bit tricky. It's going to need, obviously, to film my screen, although I believe there is a way of maybe capturing video off my phone. So I have to look into that and see if that's something I could actually get around to. But there you go, just a quick little unboxing of what you get in the box. As you can see, it's fairly Spartan, not much there. But that's because a lot of the game happens in the app. And of course that does make us wonder, you know, should this have just been a computer game? I think it would have been a really cool computer game, particularly if they'd released that community editor. But, you know, it is quite nice having the physical components. And, you know, if these were magnetic, so you could actually pin them on a wall, that would be really cool. So, yeah, anyway. Quite happy not having to sleeve these because they don't get shuffled. And yeah, I think we're going to have some great fun with this, and it's something, you know, kids and adults will enjoy.
Okay, so we've loaded up Chronicles of Crime here, and there are a couple of options. So you can enable and disable music, you can purchase extra stuff by signing into an account. But one thing you do need to be aware of is when you go into some of these scenarios, for example, hold on, let's pick one I haven't done. Every rose has its thorns. You might need to download it. Once it's downloaded, it's on your phone. You don't need to worry about it, or your tablet, whatever it is you're doing. Now, under London Forensics, there is actually a tutorial. So if you click on that and say play, it will actually give you a little bit about what you're doing, and you'll notice there's a little arrow up in the top right hand corner there above day 1. That's just downloading stuff, for example music. So I'm going to click next. So here you go, it's a co-op, you've got to set up your evidence board, blah 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 blah, and then it says you should put Scotland Yard with police chief number 33 on it. So we do that, and it says now you should go talk to him. So here you go, Scotland Yard, police chief, put on the QR code, touch and hold to scan. Ah, you're here. I have a case for you. An old woman, number 7, has been found dead. I need you to find out if it's a death or a homicide. So you now need to go through your deck, which I can't show you just now. And find number 7. And you need to find out if it's an actual death or a homicide. So we're in interrogation mode. So you can interrogate, blah, blah, blah. So you should now have on your board number 7. So here we go, you go to number 7, you go on the QR code, we touch and hold. She's Anna Taylor, she's been found dead. And then off you go to another area, etc, etc. Now, one thing I don't like about this app is if I rotate my phone, it doesn't rotate the screen. So I'm having to phone this in portrait mode. But there you go, that is a quick look at how the app works with a little bit of the tutorial.
Well, I'm going to box this all away. Any criticisms? Well, this cardstock's a little bit thin. It would have been nicer for it to be a thicker chipboard. The cards I've already mentioned, they're a little bit generic, which has its pros and cons. And as I say, I understand why they went with it. It has this sort of cartoony, cell shaded, I guess, sort of look, which, yeah, I can see that maybe being an issue for some people. It does have some mature content in the app, so although I said it'd be a good game to play with kids, I think young adults maybe would be better. So someone over the age of 12, definitely. And I know, for example, there's one scenario where I think you actually find someone hanging. So, yeah, I mean, depending on your viewpoint, that's either a good learning discussion, but for other people, maybe that's a bit too grim, a bit too intense for youngsters. So, depends on your approach to that. You've got to be a little bit careful with the youngsters on this one. So don't be confused by the cute smiling scientist here. There is some pretty grim storylines in here, and that's particularly with Noir, which I'm going to show you next. So here we have the only expansion that's available in retail right now, Noir, although having said that, I think the 3D glasses are actually available as well. And as it says, you're Sam Spader, a private eye, and this is set in LA in the 50s. So it's going to feature racism, sexism, all that noir stuff and 50s style setting. It's got some much more sort of photorealistic imagery, I think, and it is an expansion with 4 automatic scenarios, but I believe there are a couple of extras. Again, you might have to download these to the app when you first load them up, so just be aware of that. And as you can see, it's a thin-ish box. There's the board for Chronicles. As you can see, it's just a slightly bit longer than that. Anyway, let's get it open. So on opening up the box, you get a thin rule book, which isn't very many pages, less than 6. A little location set. Some baggies, not sure what they're for. Some more clues and some more witnesses. So for your location, you've got your private eye, and then generic location M, N, K. Now it's interesting, they're not actually named, these locations, which is a little bit weird. Not sure why they've just left them generic, but yeah, they look really good. And on the back, it's just sort of an indicator, and they've got a little hat so that you know they're from Noir. And then of course we've got our clues. The clues here, as you can see, they have some icons because they're green clues, and then it's just going to use the generic red ones from the base set. So yeah, kind of interesting set there. And then these guys. So as you can see, slightly different style to the base game. I actually slightly prefer this style in some ways. Yeah, very familiar looking faces, some of these guys. Really channeling some of the actors and actresses from Hollywood, particularly of that era. Slightly less diverse cast, I think, compared to the previous set. But yeah, I like these a lot, and yeah, pretty cool. And then we got these weird action cards, I think. So intimidate, bribe, rough up, and observe, I guess. So there you go. That's a very quick look at Noir. I've popped it back into the box here. I'm going to transfer it to the main box. I guess the baggies are for if you want to leave it in here and don't want to mix it up with your main set, but it's all nicely identified. And on the back, you've got the little hat icon, and there is space in the main box. So yeah, I'm really not sure what these are for, beyond just if you want to keep them in here without them rattling around, I guess. The rule book, brings in a few new bits and pieces, but yeah, just a small little expansion, but with lots of cool noirish stories. Just be aware, some of the stories are probably less child friendly than even in the base box, and I believe it does recommend at least 14 or older on this particular box, and each scenario does talk about things like, you know, drugs, sex, violence, etc. Anyway, there you go. That, I think, will do for a look at that. Yeah, I'm really impressed. At first, I didn't like the idea of the app with these fairly basic cards, but the community editor means that there's almost infinite replayability with this game if people in the community get behind it. I've actually been fiddling with the builder myself, and I'm starting to get to grips with it. And yeah, I can see great potential in this because of that custom building. Now, as I believe I've already mentioned, I do feel you could do with a PC app, so you could actually play this without your phone and project it much more easily, etc. But yeah, a cool concept and a big thumbs up from me. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed this very quick look at Chronicles of Crime, which was on Kickstarter but is now in retail. And as far as I can tell, there's not a huge amount of Kickstarter exclusive content. You know, the stuff that was exclusive is pretty irrelevant, to be honest. The one advantage you've got is you've actually already got the expansions, whereas obviously in retail, we're still waiting for Redwood to actually be released. So there's that. I'm not sure if I want the 3D glasses, maybe, but I actually got a feeling I'm going to want to stream the content of the game to my TV via a Fire Stick or something, just so it's a bit easier for everyone to enjoy the scene, although there is an element of only one individual's meant to be peeking at the screen, so yeah, that's a tricky one. Anyway, there you go. Until the next video, happy gaming.